For many years, I have struggled as a homemaker and never wanted to have guests over at my house. And if anyone showed up last minute, I just wanted to crawl into a hole and hide somewhere. And over the years, I have gotten out of this and most recently been in a place where I can have guests over at a moment's notice. And I want to tell you all about it in today's video. I'm someone that comes from poverty. I have had a poverty mindset for years. I've been a thrifter, a collector of things, and let's just say that my home has always been cluttered. Every surface filled to the brim with things. You could say that I had hoarding tendencies. I love vintage things like this chicken butter dish. And I love vintage books, which is where I learned the trick of cleaning grease with newspaper, which is what I just did to clean out that butter dish so that the grease doesn't go down your sink. And I've learned many things from these vintage homemaking books that I collected for quite a while. And most recently, this past year, I have been on a decluttering and minimalism journey. Not your typical minimalist, I don't want to have nothing in my home, but I was stuck in a vicious cycle of thrifting on a regular basis, bringing home treasures with no place to put them, and things falling out of every cupboard and every surface being filled to the brim. And I just got so sick and tired of the way things were. Minimizing my personal belongings and keeping sort of an inventory of what I have in my home has truly changed everything for me. I've gone through decluttering session after decluttering session, taken so much stuff back to the thrift store that I had previously bought at the thrift store, which was heartbreaking, and also gotten rid of so many collections that I had, including a vintage cookie cutter collection. I had a whole slew of vintage cookbooks, which I pared it down to my most favorite, and so much more, so many treasures that I never really used. They just sat in my cupboards looking pretty, and I loved the nostalgia, but I just wasn't using them. And so I really had to take a look at my belongings and what I had. Let me just say that this has been a process, an ongoing process, but what has come of it is that I'm actually able to clean surfaces and get to areas in my home so much easier than I could when my surfaces were cluttered and full of objects. And it's gotten to the point where I have created routines and habits that I do every single day. And currently I am doing my morning cleaning routine that I do as soon as everyone starts work outside on our farm, because I'm getting the house ready for guests, my workers that are coming in for lunch every single day. I am not a stay-at-home mom. I do work from home, and today my husband and I are going out to do our deliveries for our farm business. We grow organic vegetables and salad mix and microgreens. And so we're going out to do that. But I like to get my housekeeping done first thing in the morning. And this has really made a huge difference in the cleanliness of my home. And our home gets really dirty quickly because we have people coming in and out. We have dogs coming in and out. And people do take off their shoes, but inevitably dirt still tracks in. And so I am constantly upkeeping the house. So getting rid of the clutter and minimizing your belongings is definitely step number one in having a guest-ready home, because clutter, it's just makes it so hard to clean everything. I used to just shuffle clutter around and hide clutter all the time, and it made it impossible to properly clean surfaces. And so now that I'm in a place where I have so much less clutter, I feel like my surfaces can get cleaned so much easier. And wiping things down regularly every single day is a habit that I've gotten into. Now that I'm in this sweet spot where I don't have so much clutter around, I've actually tackled so many more home projects that I don't think I would have ever gotten to with all the clutter in the way. So recently, one of the things that I did was I went through all of my freezers, I unplugged my fridge and defrosted it. I emptied out my canning room, and I emptied all of my old canning jars and composted everything and washed out the jars. My next step is to actually paint the canning room, which is just a really tiny room in the basement. And I even went so far as figuring out how to recalc my kitchen counters by watching YouTube. And I've gotten to so much more deep cleaning than I think was possible previously. But in order to make this work, I actually had to change the biggest habit, which was shopping. Specifically for me, thrift shopping. I've always loved vintage items and home decor, and I've always been on the lookout for treasures. But let's just say that over the course of time, it kind of got out of control, and that was the direct source of my cluttered home. And I knew throughout my decluttering and minimalism journey that if this was actually going to work for me in the long run, I knew that I had to change that one habit, or this was never going to work. If, like me, clutter is a problem for you, then I highly suggest looking at your spending habits, your shopping habits, and look at what's coming into your home. Because that was directly related to my problems. And I haven't been thrift shopping in months now, and it's just made such a huge difference. And it doesn't mean that I won't be out looking for a bargain again at some point, but it's more about your regular habits that are daily or weekly that really have such an impact in your home. Laundry is something that I do almost every single day. I have to take turns with my kids because they also do their own laundry. But this is just something that I constantly do to make sure that we always have clean clothing, clean towels, and this just makes everything run smoothly. And I have decluttered my clothing, and I keep more of a minimal closet, but I do have enough clothing to make it through the week easily with the amount of laundry that I do, so that it's easy. I'm done my morning routine and we're off to do our deliveries. And this usually takes a good chunk of our day, but it's so much fun to spend this quality time with my husband, and we each play a role in our business. I know I've gotten comments from women who say that they want to be more minimal in their homes, but it's difficult because they live with other people and those other people are not on board with the same goals. And I just want to say that as homemakers, we tend to be the ones who bring the most into our homes, and we're the ones that do the most of the shopping. And for me, having teenagers in the home is difficult because when my kids were little, you could just go in and when they're not looking, you could just get rid of things, and that was pretty easy. But once they're teenagers, it's very difficult to try to take things away from them. It's really not possible. And so you just kind of have to work on your own belongings and the common areas. And by doing this, you might just inspire the other people around you to go through their own things. And that's exactly what happened for me. And so, no matter what your situation is, I believe that you can decide to be more minimalist and work on your own belongings, and that can have a really big impact in your home. Every single time that I had a decluttering session, the house just seemed to breathe easier, and it made such a huge difference. And then I would take a break and live with it for several weeks before deciding to go in and do more decluttering. And it seemed like each time it was a breath of fresh air, but then over the course of a few weeks, it just seemed to need more work. And I've just gone through these cycles, and it's not because more has come into my home. I think it's really just that my standards keep changing and I keep wanting to go deeper. I kept noticing how much easier it was to keep my house clean. And so inevitably, that became so much more important to me than the actual items that I was getting rid of. Living in a big house on a big property is so much work. And if you just live in a small apartment or a small home, then it should be much easier to keep clean than a large house and a large property, because we constantly have to keep working at it and it never feels done. It never feels perfect. There's always more work to do, whether it's pruning trees outside or cutting the grass, weed whacking, or just whatever task or chore needs to be done. It feels like the work is never ending. And this right here is one of my secret weapons. It's a shop vac. I bought these bags on Amazon. It was only like $20 for 6 of these giant bags to fit in my old dusty shop vac, which my husband happened to find for free somewhere. And I've been using this thing specifically mostly in our basement. And this thing is so powerful and I love it so much. I can use it to clean out my car, and I have sucked up so many spiders and webs and spider eggs and just all manner of gross things. And it would probably take a year to fill one of these bags. So I feel like this was a worthy investment. I actually watched a YouTube video on how to do this. And even though this is a really old shop vac, the newer bags still fit it. It was just a matter of what gallon size your shop vac is. So that is definitely one of my tips for cleaning up really gross messes around your house. And now I'm trying out newspaper to clean my windows, which is another old-fashioned tip, and it's working really great. If you want to be guest ready, then something that's really important is cleaning the entrances to your home, because this is the first impression of your guests. And I have to say that my entrances are not always so guest worthy. I have a lot of shoes to manage, but I am a work in progress, and this is one of the next areas that I probably need to start tackling. Housekeeping and homemaking is a challenge. It's something that a lot of us struggle with. And one of the things that I learned through reading books from the 1940s and 50s about homemaking is that this was something that was taught in school extensively. And because that's been dropped, we are kind of on our own figuring it out. And so I hope that in today's video, some of the tips that I have given you about keeping a tidier home and being guest ready can help you in your own endeavors in your homemaking. Thanks for joining me in today's video, and I hope to see you next week. Take care and have a wonderful day.